Hello, baseball fans, and welcome back to another video with Brandon and I. If you don't know what's happening right now, you're clearly living under a rock because whether you're a Chicago Cubs fan or a Milwaukee Brewers fan, it is heating up against these games, against these two legendary Titans. Right now, as of this recording, yesterday, Saturday, the Brewers swept the Cubs 9-3, and we're here to recap the game, what we think is going to happen next, and just share our overall thoughts about it. Brandon, what are your thoughts as you, a Cubs fan, are thinking about the next game against the Brewers?
Yeah, not a sweep yet. It was a destruction in game one, though. It was not pretty. Matthew Boyd pitched on short rest. The Brewers, who are usually very patient at the plate, brought out a really impressive game plan. They were hyper aggressive on fastballs up in the zone. They knew exactly what pitches they wanted to swing at. They knocked him out of the game after two-thirds of an inning, and then they knocked Michael Soroka out of the game after one inning. It was a just complete destruction. The game was over after the first inning, which is really surprising because Michael Bush hit a leadoff home run for the Cubs. So it was really, a quick about face on that front. But look, credit to the Brewers. There's a lot of talk in baseball about like who has the edge when like the divisional round starts, because one team is coming off like a week-long bye and one team is coming off winning the wild card round, and theoretically they have the momentum, right? And one team has to shake off the rust. The Brewers had no rust to shake off. They were completely ready to go in this series. And concerningly for the Cubs is that you had to use three of your bulk inning guys, beyond Matthew Boyd. Michael Soroka, Aaron Savali, who was the unsung hero in that game for giving them so many innings, and then Ben Brown. I mean, that's three of your four long relievers, Colin Ray being the other. It puts the bullpen in a really, really tough position for the rest of the series, and especially the starting pitchers, which we'll talk about in a minute for game two. But it just puts a lot of onus on these guys now to give Craig Counsell a lot of quality innings because you don't have the kind of depth anymore, to sustain, some of these tighter, longer games. So credit to the Brewers for doing what they did. A lot of timely hitting, a lot of just punching the ball through the infield. It's what they're known for. Not, obviously not a huge slugging team, but it's just, this is Brewers baseball. They're fundamentally sound. They're really, really strong in every aspect. And the Cubs are going to have to really turn things around in game two to keep this series afloat.
Yeah, and look, at the end of the day, I'm not really surprised about this. The Cubs are a really great team. I'm glad they made it through the wild card round, but they also made it by the skin of their teeth when you really think about it. They were producing really low amount of runs against the Padres, and it was a three-game, roundup at the end of the day. They barely made it past the Padres. And if you can't beat somebody like the Padres and then go up against the number one seed like the Brewers, you're going to have a myriad of problems. And again, we already saw it inning one and two. To have 9 runs in the first 2 innings, I mean, it already spells disaster.
Yeah, no, I mean it's a real credit to the Brewers for the game plan that they had. It was like watching an NFL team come out of a bye with like a very hyper specific game plan for like a singular opponent. It was just Matthew Boyd is a guy who likes to, pick the edges of the zone. He likes to get guys to chase. The Brewers were having none of that. The Brewers knew exactly what they wanted to do against him. And it's a credit to them. And obviously, again, it's put the Cubs on their heels. So, leading into game two now, we have Shodi Minaga taking the start for the Cubs. They're not going to roll with an opener this time, which could prove to be an issue, which we'll talk about in a second. But the Brewers are going to counter with Aaron Ashby, who should be an opener for them. We're expecting that Quinn Priester will handle the bulk innings. We don't exactly know yet. Could be Chad Patrick, could be someone else. But the Brewers are going to play the matchup game again. Their bullpen's pretty well rested, thanks to how good Freddie Peralta was in game one. So again, it's total advantage to the Brewers right now. That being said, look, the Brewers were always expected to win game one. Matthew Boyd was pitching on short rest. The Brewers had Freddie Peralta going. They're obviously the Brewers are playing at home right now. So, the outcome wasn't the unexpected part. I think it was just how bad it went for the Cubs that really has them in a tough position right now.
And I will say the one thing going for the Cubs, but it's a complete coin flip of how it goes, is the status of Jackson Chorio at the end of the day. There is
Yeah.
no confirmation if he's coming back for this next game, and he was a huge player and heavy hitter in that 9-3 game. So he produced, I think, 3 hits during his
Mhm.
at bats, which, of course, he's one of the best players on the Brewers right now. But again, there is no update on how he's doing. So if he doesn't come back, I think the Cubs can really capitalize on that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Brewer Fanatics Jack Stern has been all over this. He reported as of the morning of Game Two that Chorio is doing some like light jogging and stuff. So it's possible, that Chorio makes it back. Maybe he's available off the bench. I'm sure Pat Murphy won't try to rush him back. Obviously, it's the playoffs. You kind of need your best players right now, even if they're compromised. But yeah, I mean that's certainly a big storyline because Churio was 3 for 3 with 3 RBIs in Game One. I mean he's a very important bat for this lineup. Obviously the Cubs would surely love to see him out, even if for a game or two. But again, speaking on the starters. Aaron Ashby's a great pitcher for the Brewers. He's a really good, left-handed reliever. He's been a starter in the past, so he might give the Brewers bulk innings. My guess would be that he'll make it one time through the order. And then, Pat Murphy will go to his bullpen, probably whoever his long guy ends up being. But, again, the Cubs have a lot of lefties at the top of the lineup. They have, Michael Busch, Kyle Tucker, Ian Happ's better from the left side than the right side. So putting him on the right side's advantageous. Pico Armstrong obviously can struggles quite a bit against lefties. So it's definitely, advantage for the Brewers on that front. As for Shodi Managa, our boy, Ethan and I have, very fond, opinions of Imanaga. He was okay in the wild card series. He gave up that home run to Manny Machado. I would say that, the biggest concern for the Cubs is that the reason they use the opener in the wild card series is because Imanaga is really bad at the start of games. His career ERA in the first inning is like nearly 5, and then every inning after is less than 4. So he takes a while to get going. He's one of the rare pitchers where as the game goes along, he gets better. So the Cubs are going to have to really hope, again, because the bullpen's so compromised right now, that he's able to give them quality innings and not, obviously they really, really can't afford from game one, another 6-1 deficit in the first inning. But as always, Ethan and I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Obviously, game two is happening. Brewers could take a really commanding lead here, 2-0, heading back to Wrigley Field for game 3 and 4. Can the Cubs tie this thing up and change the narrative around this series? Let us know in the comments. And as always, we'll try to respond to everyone.